Imagine an engine so powerful that NASCAR banned it before it even hit the track. This is the story of Ford's legendary 427 Camry, built in just 90 days to take down Chrysler's HEMI dominance. A beast so fast, so advanced, that it sent NASCAR officials into a panic. But here's the shocking truth. While NASCAR shut it down, Ford's forbidden power plant found a new battleground, where there were no rules, no limits, only speed and domination. From its rapid development to the controversy that got it banned, to its second life as the king of the drag strip, this is the untold truth of the most fearsome Ford engine ever built. Buckle up, because this story will blow your mind. Stay till the end, and if you love high-performance history, hit that subscribe button now, because we're just getting started. The birth of the 90-day wonder. 1964, Daytona 500. Richard Petty and his 426 HEMI-powered Plymouth leave the competition in the dust. The message was clear. Chrysler had built an unstoppable machine. And Ford was caught flat-footed. But giving up was never an option. Henry Ford II demanded an answer, and fast. Ford's top engineers were given just 90 days, an impossible deadline, to build an engine that could crush the Hemi on the track. No excuses, no second chances. What they came up with wasn't just an engine. It was a weapon, a high-revving, fire-breathing masterpiece known as the 427 Camry. But as brilliant as it was, it had a problem, one that would come back to haunt Ford in ways they never expected. Stay locked in, because the shocking twist behind this engine's fate is coming up. And trust me, it's one you won't believe. Engineering masterpiece or flawed giant? To beat the Hemi, Ford couldn't just play catch-up. They had to reinvent the game. And they did, with a radical new design that pushed the limits of American engineering. They took their proven 427 V8 and transformed it into an overhead cam beast. The result? A staggering 657 horsepower at 7,500 RPM with dual carburetors. Even the single-carb version packs 616 horsepower, more than enough to turn any stock car into a rocket ship. But there was one flaw, a 6-foot-long timing chain, an engineering gamble that made the Camry both brilliant and fragile. At high RPMs, this chain could stretch, throwing off timing and turning raw power into pure chaos. Would Ford find a fix before it was too late? Or would this one flaw seal the Camry's fate? Stick around, because the answer's coming, and it's not what you think. The NASCAR controversy, banned before it raced. Ford had done it. The Camry was ready for war, set to debut in the 1966 NASCAR season. But then, the unthinkable happened. With no warning, NASCAR's president, Bill France, dropped the hammer, banning the 427 before it could ever hit the track. The reason? It was too exotic, an unfair advantage. But let's be real, NASCAR knew this engine would dominate, and they weren't ready for that kind of shakeup. Ford had spent millions, engineers had worked around the clock, and now it was all for nothing. But if you think Ford was going to just walk away, think again. The 427 was about to find a new home, one where there were no rules, no restrictions, and no mercy. And what happened next? Well, let's just say history was about to be made. Keep watching, because things are about to get wild. The 427th finds a new home, drag racing domination. NASCAR may have slammed the door on the 427 Camry, but that didn't mean the party was over. In fact, the real show was just getting started. If stock car racing didn't want Ford's monster engine, another motorsport did. One where power ruled and the only thing that mattered was crossing the finish line first. Drag racing. With no NASCAR rulebook holding it back, the 427 was unleashed on the quarter mile. And the results? Mind-blowing. Ford's forbidden powerhouse was suddenly the king of the strip, tearing through competition and rewriting the record books. But the Camry wasn't just winning races, it was breaking barriers, literally. Because one man, one moment, and one unforgettable run would forever etch the 427's name in drag racing history. And you're about to find out how. Keep watching, because what happened next shocked the entire racing world. Connie Kalitta and the 200-mile-per-hour barrier. If the 427 Camry was the ultimate weapon, then Connie Kalitta was the fearless warrior who wielded it like no one else. Kalitta wasn't just another drag racer, he was a legend in the making. And in 1965, he made history behind the wheel of his camera-powered dragster. On a fateful run down the strip, Kalitta did what no driver before him had ever done. He broke the 200-mile-per-hour barrier. Let that sink in. 200 miles per hour. In the 60s, that was unheard of. It was the kind of speed that put fear in the hearts of competitors and sent a clear message. The 427 Camry wasn't just a great engine, it was a revolution. But while Kalitta's record-breaking run cemented the Camry's legacy, Ford engineers still had one massive problem to solve. A problem that, if left unchecked, could destroy everything they had built. And trust me, you won't believe how they fixed it. Overcoming the Camry's biggest weakness. For all its raw power, the 427 had one Achilles heel, the 6-foot-long timing chain. At extreme RPMs, it stretched, it shifted, and in the worst cases, it turned engines into expensive paperweights. In NASCAR, that flaw might have been its downfall. But in drag racing, the best minds in motorsports went to work, determined to turn this engine into an unstoppable force. The solution? Gear-driven timing, a game changer. By ditching the chain and replacing it with precision-cut gears, racers eliminated the biggest weakness of the Camry, unlocking its full potential. Now, instead of an engine that was just powerful, they had an engine that was powerful and reliable. And that meant only one thing: more records, more victories, and more domination. But even with all this success, Ford's legendary 427 had one final chapter left to write, and it's one that still impacts the cars we drive today. Stick around, because you don't want to miss how this engine changed Ford's future forever. The 427's influence on modern Ford engines. By the late 60s, the 427 Camry had proven itself as one of the most powerful engines ever built. It had conquered the drag strip, shattered records, and left an undeniable mark on motorsports. But here's the twist: its influence didn't stop there. The Camry's overhead cam design was decades ahead of its time, and while Ford never mass-produced it for the streets, the lessons learned from this engine would shape Ford's performance lineup for years to come. Fast forward to today, and you'll find its DNA in some of Ford's most iconic modern engines. The 4.6-liter and 5.4-liter modular V8s, the 5.2-liter Predator in the GT500, and of course the legendary Coyote 5.8, all owe a debt to the groundbreaking tech Ford pioneered with the 427 Camry. The Camry didn't just change racing, it changed Ford's future. But if you think its impact was only felt under the hood, wait till you hear about what these engines are worth today. And trust me, the numbers will shock you. The Camry's skyrocketing value, a collector's dream. Once upon a time, the 427 Camry was an outlaw, an engine too powerful for NASCAR, too rare for the streets, and too expensive for the average racer. But today, it's one of the most sought-after engines on the planet. A rebuilt Camry? That'll set you back at least $60,000. A never-used original? That just sold for $140,000 in 2023? And that's just the engine. Cars powered by the Camry, like the 1968 Torino Night Stalker or the 1969 Mustang Bounty Hunter, are now considered priceless artifacts of racing history. What was once banned and nearly forgotten is now a crown jewel for collectors and enthusiasts alike. But here's the biggest question: why? What makes this engine so legendary, so unforgettable, that people are willing to pay six figures just to own a piece of it? That answer lies in the Camry's ultimate legacy, one that still echoes through the world of racing and performance cars today. And that's exactly what we're diving into next. The lasting legacy of the 427 Camry. The 427 Camry was never supposed to exist. It was rushed into creation, banned from NASCAR, and faced with mechanical hurdles that could have doomed it to obscurity. But legends don't die that easily. Instead, the Camry became something greater, a symbol of innovation, defiance, and raw American horsepower. It ruled the drag strip, shattered speed records, and paved the way for some of Ford's greatest engines. Even now, over half a century later, the Camry is still one of the most talked about power plants in racing history. Collectors crave it, enthusiasts revere it, and its influence can still be felt in the roar of Ford's modern V8s. From a last-minute Hail Mary to a banned masterpiece, to a drag racing icon, the story of the 427 Camry is proof that true greatness can never be silenced. The Ford 427 Camry, banned from NASCAR, feared by competitors, and still a legend decades later. What started as a desperate attempt to beat Chrysler's Hemi turned into an engine so powerful that it was literally outlawed before it ever hit the track. But legends don't die, they adapt, they dominate. They become collectors' dreams, history's icons, and the blueprint for the performance monsters we see today. So what do you think? Should NASCAR have let the Camry race? Would it have destroyed the Hemi era before it even began? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you love this deep dive into racing's biggest what-ifs, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because trust me, we're just getting started. More banned engines, more insane cars, more stories that the history books don't tell you, coming soon. See you in the next one.